Well, here we are again. I am astrologer and life coach Penny Dix, and quite a few of you here already. How lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on what in Gozo, Mediterranean, is a Monday evening. For a lot of you, you are just getting up to enjoy the day. And I hope it's a lot warmer than it is here, because even though the actual temperature is not that low, we suffer from a lot of humidity, high humidity. So it actually makes it a little chilly. And we don't have things like, hello, Katrina, we don't have things like central heating in these kind of remote Mediterranean islands. But enough of that. Let's talk about the full moon in Gemini. And how are you all? How did you sleep last night? It's a full moon. You know, it's can be crazy energy. So what I want to say first of all is that we have to remember that Gemini is a mutable air sign. This means that this is a full moon about this, about the brain, about thinking, about thought, about ideas, about plans for the future, or plans for what needs to go. So, okay, Vita, you slept like a baby, woke up every 3 hours. What was that? To be fed and changed? The mind boggles. So, this full moon in Gemini, we have to remember it's mutable energy. Mutability means that we have some flexibility in this full moon energy. Gemini, of course, as we know, is about communication. But what are the aspects that are helping, or shall we say, hindering the energy of this particular full moon? Well, obviously, we know that the sun is in Sagittarius, because all the mutable signs are kind of like a square. So you have Sagittarius, Gemini, and then you have Pisces and Virgo. So you have this kind of cross of mutable energy, as you do for the fixed signs, the air signs, and the cardinal signs. So it is quite in. How's Rudy Red? Well, he's a bit affected by the moon. He's not enjoying today to the best of his ability. He's finding it a bit stressful trying, excuse me, to integrate with my particular cat family. So it is quite difficult for him, but I think he will get over that. I'm going to, I've actually shut the door where he's in the room he's in for the moment, because otherwise he walks around yowling. And it's just not a particularly kind of good sound effect to have for this video. So I will let him out all about, what's this? Please tell us about exes. Are they going to return? Oh, okay. Now that is very interesting. Where did you get that from? Was that from that Venus conjunct the South Node in Libra? Because as I was sitting here looking at this chart tonight, I thought, ooh, that's interesting energy. Venus conjunct the South Node. This could well bring back people from the past, some kind of amore from the past could come back into your life, could contact you out of the blue. that can, and because of course it's Gemini and it's communication. So yes, and I think that we we've got to look at the fact that Saturn, that's in Pisces. Now Saturn is our planet of boundaries and restrictions. Saturn is also about timing, but Saturn, that is at 0 degrees of Pisces, going direct, is in a kind of wide T square. So that's like this to both the full moon in Gemini and the sun in Sagittarius. So what do we make of this? Whatever comes up for you around the energy of the next few days, or that might have come up over the last few days, remember Gemini, think about it very carefully, because you may be going back down a path that isn't actually very helpful to you, at least not for your future self. So even though we have Venus conjunct the South Node in Libra, that can potentially bring back kind of, relationships from the past. Let me just see, Evita, you always wanted to ask. No, I use Tropical Placidus to read birth charts. I find Tropical Placidus is far more accurate because it gives you a richer tapestry to work with the energies that are laid before us on this natal map. Because remember, a natal chart is a map. So I'm looking at the full moon energy in its natal chart, Tropical Placidus system. And what's interesting, and I think in my full moon video that I pre-recorded where I go through all the individual signs, I did put the chart up. So you should be able to see it. But I think I forgot to do Jerry, we're now going to put the chart up. I think I forgot to do that. So it just mystically appears and then mystically or mysteriously disappears. Hi, Ethel, it's good to see you. So yes, I do think for me anyway, but all astrologers are different. And with astrology, in many ways, there's no right or wrong. It's just that different astrologers have different methods. And with astrology, it's growing and developing all the time. So that what we might have believed once in our early days, say, of learning astrology, is not necessarily going to work for us now. Now, I have a wonderful astrology teacher mentor whom I'm continuing to have ongoing tutorial sessions with. Her name is Alison Chester Lambert. She has a YouTube channel, but she never posts on it. And she has written quite a few books. Now, Alison has developed really her own style of astrology. And we met today. Well, rather, we met online. And we were discussing this. And she was explaining to me that even some of the oldest and best known and best respected astrologers will get to a point in their astrology development where they go, I don't think how I viewed, maybe let's take a planet like Saturn in the old days, is really how I see Saturn now. Now, one of the things she reminded me of today in our lesson, which I find very interesting, is that the patriarchy the Roman gods actually gave the planets masculine delineations. So Saturn was seen as a masculine energy. It's not. It's a feminine energy. And Capricorn is a feminine sign, and Saturn rules Capricorn. Pluto, that is now in Capricorn, Pluto, this is a really difficult one to get one's head round, because of course it's going to go into Aquarius, which is a masculine sign. Pluto is a feminine energy. I bet you didn't know that, because we think of Pluto, Hades, god of the underworld. Actually, it was goddess of the underworld. Interesting thoughts, eh? So, this, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because it's a lot to take in. And I'm still processing it myself. But what I'm thinking is we've got Saturn today making this wide T-square to both the moon in Gemini. So we've got Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is mutable water. Gemini is mutable air. And the sun is in Sagittarius, mutable fire. So we have fire, air, and water. Where is the earth in this full moon? Because that's what we need to look for. Because for me, this full moon is, it's kind of slipped in and slipped by, or is slipping by almost in quite an unnoticed way. And what's so interesting, and I've just seen your comment, Annabelle, I'll come to that in a minute. What is so interesting is that this full moon needs grounding, because otherwise the energy of the full moon in Gemini, remember the moon is feminine, the sign of Gemini is actually masculine, because it actually goes Aries masculine, Taurus feminine, Gemini masculine, Cancer feminine. Do you see? So you go round, that is the way to learn it. So each sign, you start with masculine and then feminine, masculine, feminine. It's really quite an easy way to kind of remember this process. So where is the earth in this full moon? That's what worries me. Where is something that is bringing in some grounding? There's nothing. So what we have to be careful is that we don't get carried away today, because if you're in America, then you're just starting your day. What we have to do is be careful we don't get carried away with overthinking, with getting indignant at things that might get said that we think we've been misunderstood, at getting kind of hot under the collar, Sagittarius fire. I'm right, because Sagittarius, remember, is about truth. I'm right. So don't get into difficult, tricky debates today. There's nothing to ground them. The only good that is coming out of this full moon that I can see on the world stage is that in Israel, Hamas have agreed to extend, or at least when I watched the news an hour ago, to extend this period of ceasefire of truce to allow 2 more days for hostages to be released and exchanged. So that is good. And I think the Gemini full moon is very significant in what is happening in the talks that are going on in the Middle East at the moment. So we have to sort of, in a sense, let's park that over there. Annabelle, I missed the comment you said earlier. I think it was something about the lovely astrologer Steve Judd talking about next year and planets moving into the change of planets from masculine to feminine and feminine to masculine energy. And certainly Pluto, that is a feminine planet, is going into a masculine sign that is Aquarius. Pisces is a feminine sign. And Saturn is a feminine planet. And at some point, not next year, but not long afterwards, it will go into the masculine sign of Aries and so begin its cycle round the zodiac again. And both Jupiter is moving, Uranus is staying in Taurus next year. Uranus is staying put for about, I think it's 18 months, 2 more years. I think it's 2025. Uranus dips its toes into Gemini. Now that is going to be combustible. And Jupiter next year in May moves into the masculine sign of Gemini. So at the moment, Jupiter, that rules Sagittarius, that is a masculine sign. So Jupiter is a masculine planet. I think I've got that right. It gets quite confusing, you can see, trying to remember all these kind of let me see what you're talking about, Mothership. Transiting your first house now. Saturn is transiting your first house now. Chiron is in Gemini, and I've just lost that one. Let me see if I can pull it back down. Chiron is in Gemini in your natal chart. How can you use this moon's energy to do shadow work in regards to your wounded healer and working with Saturn's lessons? Listen, think of Saturn as a feminine energy. The feminine is about timing. Saturn is about timing. Remember, the feminine has a 28-day menstrual cycle. The feminine has to have Saturn's rings, the boundaries, to contain the baby that grows in the womb for 9 months. So do you see how one of the problems we have with Saturn is that we put it up here, we project all this kind of quite fearful energy onto it. That was the other thing that my lovely teacher Alison was reminding me of this morning, that fear actually belongs to the feminine, because the masculine takes action. The feminine actually remains in that more fearful state because of what the feminine has to go through. We are faced with life and death in, you could almost say, every month. So if we look, so you're saying, how do you do the shadow work? First of all, stop trying to do the shadow work, because what you have to do is recognize, as I've said before, the first traumatic experience you received was probably in the first week of life, when whether it was a nurse, a midwife, the mother, a caregiver, the father, did not meet baby's needs at the right time. That's when we first experience trauma and are inconsolable crying. So what we have to do when we try and heal our inner wounds is first of all recognize that they go back a lot longer than just what happened to us in our teens or 20s or when we were, a bit younger. It's a lifetime's work. Hi, Jem. Who else is saying something? Good evening. Hi, Carol. Hi, good to see you here. So what about this full moon? What I want to remind you of, that it is mutable energy. So you might find yourself saying something and then thinking, oh, I don't think I should have said that. How can I take it back? But of course, what we can't change is the word once it's spoken, once it's said out loud, once we've pressed send on the email or the SMS or the messenger or whatever. This is a day or a few days to be mindful of our thinking, of our communication. If you know what's going on in your own natal chart, look to see where Gemini is. Look to see where the moon is. The moon is at 4 degrees. And also what's interesting is that it's conjunct the dwarf planet or space object, as we can call it, Sedna. Now, you've heard me talk about Sedna before. She was the Inuit goddess whose father chopped off her hands, her arms, basically up to her shoulders to stop her getting back into the boat where he would drown if she got back in. And so she became a sea goddess. But this is about the victimization of the feminine. And in a sense, one of the things that has been unfolding in the Middle East on some level is man's control over the feminine and the disrespect for life, for mothering, for motherhood, for children. So, tough stuff. But let's also look to what's going on in Sagittarius today. Because Mars, our god of action and energy, our planet of, our fiery planet of athleticism of the body, is conjunct the sun. So therefore, Mars is in opposition to the full moon. Now, you've heard that saying, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So you might think, I'm coming out with all these wonderful thoughts and all this wonderful communication, and I'm really smoothing the way for person A and person C through me to have a really good communication. You say it all wrong, it all comes out like gobbledygoo, and everything is probably worse than when it started. That can be part of the energy of this Mars conjunct the sun opposite the full moon in Sagittarius. And remember, because it's Sagittarius, it is so important today because the sun is opposite the moon, that we have total transparency and honesty, because there's something about the energy of a full moon opposite Sagittarius where if the truth is not there, it's like if we look at what has been happening in the Middle East, for example, or what's happening in some of the other deeply troubled areas of the planet. Ukraine, that's gone quiet, but there's still terrible things happening there. The negotiators for the release of the hostages in the Middle East, if they try and do anything that is a little bit underhand, a little bit dodgy, they will get found out and they will pay the price. That's why I'm saying it's a tricky full moon. And that Sagittarius energy is saying the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Lie to me and I will kill you, kind of thing. Metaphorically. And I don't even want to go there. Now, what is helping this full moon is Pluto, interestingly, in Capricorn, in a cardinal feminine sign. And Pluto, remember, is about the numinosity in some ways of the universe. It's about, it's preparing to move into Aquarius. It's preparing to show us the way, to show us the bigger picture in all things. And Pluto is trining, so that's a helpful aspect, the full moon in Gemini. So it is being supportive. It is saying, stick to the truth, be the truth, live the truth. And if we stick to that route, then an awful lot of good can be accomplished. And, this energy is, one could almost say it's flaky because it's mutable. But interestingly, thank God it's mutable, because it's like a boat on an ocean. It's moving with the direction of the energy. We don't want fixed energy. So perhaps we don't want fixed earth. And perhaps that the earth that I was looking for at the beginning comes in through the trine from Pluto, saying, if you stick to the truth, if you communicate wisely, I can help you. Not me, well, maybe me, I don't think so. But through the interpretation of the energies, Pluto will help us transform the words that are so difficult to make sense of, and that sometimes what happens in the world, we don't have words to express what is going on. So look, any questions before I bring tonight's short little dip into the full moon energy to a close? And remember, on Friday, the 1st of December, I will be doing my overview to the energies of December and looking at what we can expect from the month of December. So let me have a look and see what anyone has said. So any highlights for 2024? Okay. Well, my overview for 2024 will be available on my channel from about Thursday, I think. Techie Jerry, my lovely Techie Jerry, is sorting it out as we speak. And as I told you, I'm going to do each individual zodiac sign. I'm taking longer to record them. to honor my own energies and go slowly with myself. And so, hi Jerry, that's lovely. I will pass that on to him because I have no idea if he will watch this. But basically 2024 is a year of preparation. There is enormous change coming in 2024, but we won't necessarily be aware of it in all of our lives at the same time, because it depends on your own natal chart. It depends where these signs are, like where Aquarius is, where Pisces is, where Capricorn is, and actually where Taurus is, and Gemini. So nearly all the zodiac, but not quite. Monthly wise, I would say February. Just let me give you a spoiler alert. You're kind of getting my interest now. Let me have a look. Let me give you a spoiler alert. So January, we have a Uranus goes direct in Taurus. February, oh yeah, this is quite a tricky one, but you'll have to listen to the overview to get the full impact of it. Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. And guess what? That is on Valentine's Day, the 14th. March, we start eclipse season. And then the big month is April. We have a Mercury retrograde, and we have a very important total solar eclipse on the 8th of April, and it's in Aries. It'll be visible in the west of Europe, North America, parts of the north of South America, the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Arctic. So this is going to affect the whole world. There's going to be a lot of build up to this particular solar eclipse. And we've also, of course, in April got the forthcoming and that'll be much talked about Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. That is also a very big energy. And then I'm not going to give too much away because I'm just not, but you'll all know, because it's been talked about so much, that of course November is when Pluto will actually move into Aquarius on the 19th. So, you know, that is a big thing. So, and what I'm going to be doing is going through each of your individual signs and picking out a selection of these particular events, telling them where they are in your chart, in the sense what house they're in, what you can expect, how you can work with these energies. And they'll probably all turn out to be around 25-30 minutes long. I don't want them to be any longer because I do understand people's attention span. And already I've run over on this one. I wanted to keep this to half an hour. And let me just look at the, yes, the Advents. It's going to be the 12 days of Christmas, where you will get a different zodiac sign every day. And Jerry and I have sorted out a random kind of order, but it may be interesting to see whether they actually follow a pattern. At this point, I haven't kind of paid much attention. I've just gone like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with my, script, if you like, for my information for each sign. And I'm starting them tomorrow. And then I will forward them to Jerry and he'll do all the magical stuff. And then we'll see. So, Shirley, bless you. I'm so glad that all this information is helping you. I'm really pleased to hear that. Annabelle, oh bless you, thank you. I'm constantly evolving, and this is the most important thing with any path, actually, that we can admit when we're wrong or when we've gone down a rabbit hole that isn't helpful, and that we can continue to expand our knowledge. And for me, it's about astrology, and to continue to improve it. That's what I try to do, so that I can give it to you, because as I think I've said recently, and it might have been in the overview for 2024, you have to see a natal chart as a roadmap. Astrology is not about telling the future. It's about showing you that if you go from A to F down this particular route, then X, Y, Z can happen. But if you don't want that to happen, then maybe you should looking at the energies of going a slightly different route. So you have to think of the astrological chart as a map. If you change the word chart to map, it might start to help you understand a little bit more about what astrology is really about, and why navigation was done by the stars, and why the Egyptians used it as a mathematical tool, why the Sumerians used it to understand how the cosmos works, why the whole of India developed their Vedic astrology, why China has its own version of Chinese astrology, which is not like just whether you're a dragon or a lion or a water hog or whatever. Chinese astrology is far more complex. Look at me on a Gemini full moon. I cannot stop talking. Isn't that interesting? You see how we act out these energies. Fascinating. Bless you, Shannon. Thank you. Sending you loads of love for that, my love. Really sending you healing for your first session of chemo. I really wish you good health and that you recover soon. You've got Mars Pluto conjunct in your natal chart. Woo! Well, you can tell us all about it then. And so listen, guys, I am going to go because it's really cold. And I need to go and put my electric blanket on in my bed so that it's nice and warm for when I get into it in a little bit. And because already it's 20 to 7 in the evening, which I know isn't very late, but I've always been an early bird. And so I'm going to have a light supper and probably one of my cheeky little whiskies. You know what I'm like. And then I will rest until tomorrow. Jem, bless you. Yes, send lots of healing to Shannon. And I will keep snugly. It's cold in London. Oh, bless you. Thank you, Ramona. Thank you. So listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please remember, share this with your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. All those things really count. And, you know, because I'm not putting out so much content, the algorithms just kick me out. So, you know, we have to sort of somehow elevate the energy of the channel so that I get my information out, which I think, and you are helping me realize that it is in many ways helpful. So that's what I'm trying to do. So you got about 20 layers on. Oh, bless. Fleece layers. Yes, fleece layers. That's what we need. And love to you all. So happy you didn't miss this one. You're welcome, Gem. Be in touch with you soon, Gem, as we discussed. Oh, look at all those hearts. Thank you, Shirley. So I'm going to do the inane grin that we do at the end. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you being here. I really wish you all healing if you need it, healing even if you don't need it or don't think you need it, love, and actually an open mind and growing conscious awareness. That's my full moon wish for you. So good night for now, guys. Bye.